All right. Hi, everyone. This is Corinne, and we're going to continue in this Friday Fast 15 with the notion that we can make Gmail less frustrating. So I'm going to give you some tips today that might help filter some messages out of your inbox, maybe help you find mail later if that's been an issue for you. And then just some different issues that I heard about in particular this week as we're meeting hopping, as I'm meeting hopping like all the rest of you. Then clearly there are some things that some strategies I can give you that will help you a little bit later. This is going to be the roughest Fast 15 I've ever done because I had no practice. I just come from a meeting, and I will be jumping on another meeting here after I record this. So it looks like there's nobody. Yeah, nobody's here, so we won't have any Q&A, but this session is going to be recorded. It's going to be uploaded to YouTube in the Fast 15 playlist. If you have questions later, you can always message either the help desk at helpdesk@northwestregionalesd.k12.or.us, so nwresd.k12.or.us, or you can feel free to message me directly if you would like, corinne.wyatt@cascadetech.org. So the first thing I want to show you is I'm just broadcasting my inbox here. I have priority inbox set up. So my messages do come in chronologically, but they come in kind of three different sections, I guess. So when I turn on priority inbox, it creates sort of a priority list for how I need to answer these messages. So the first thing I want to show you is how you actually turn on priority inbox if it's something that's interesting to you. And the way that you do that is, it's not relevant, settings. So over here at the gear, then go down to settings, and then make sure, let's see, I want to show you that part later. You want to look for where priority inbox is, and now I've forgotten where it is. So here it is, third tab over, inbox. And I have priority inbox turned on already, but you've got several options here. The default is just probably what you're seeing now if you don't have priority turned on. There are several other options. This priority inbox is what it does, and I'm going to go down. I would have to hit changes, save changes here. Instead, I'm going to hit cancel, because what you're looking at here is priority inbox. And what it does is Google starts to sort of comprehend how you read your messages. So who in your agency is important, whose messages you always read, what content is important to you. And then it pops your newest messages from important people and with important content up here at the top. So that's why these are bold, because I haven't read them yet. And they are all from people that I will frequently and file their messages instead of deleting them. So if you are getting spam or vendor emails that you've actually signed up for, they probably would show up down here. Anything that I star, so this is like my immediate to-do list here, which has gotten a little out of control because some of these messages are quite old. When I star it, it shows up here. And if I star it and tell it, by the way, I want you to mark this as unread, when I refresh or when the browser times out, then the most important starred messages and the ones that are brand new in my inbox will pop to the very, very top. So now the message from John is going to be up here, and that star is an indicator to me. So there are lots of ways to kind of recognize that. I must admit, the first time I saw priority inbox when it was instituted kind of as an experiment by Google years and years ago now, it was not useful for me at the time. In fact, I hated it. I lived with it for a couple of weeks, decided to try it out and decided I hated it. And so I turned it off and went back to the old way of doing Gmail. And then I did have kind of an epiphany at one point about how I was managing my tasks. And the way my messages were coming into my inbox, and decided to try it again. And now I love it. And I have it on in every profile that I use. So this may be something that you right now say, no, or give it a shot and decide you don't like it. And then later on, come back to it and think that it's useful. I'm with quite a few tools. I'm willing to jump in and try them and decide, kind of make a commitment for how long I'm going to try it. And then if I don't like it, I turn it off. And sometimes I never go back to it. But very often I kind of file it away in my brain. And then when I have an issue and can think, what tool would help me solve this? A lot of times I can revisit those old tools that I tried and didn't like at the time, and then they become useful. So I recommend that for change management in general in your life. It's kind of it's an easier way to kind of do it incrementally versus all at one time. So priority inbox is awesome for sort of managing how you see your messages when you open your mailbox. There are a couple of other things. If you're not using them, I have heard from people that they aren't necessarily using some of these things. Labels and filtering are a really nice way to narrow down what you're searching for when you're trying to find it later. So I don't have too many labels because I tend to just generally search, which we'll talk about in a little bit, over email. But over here on the left, I do have a few labels that do help me sort of organize things. The other nice thing about labels is you can really control what you see in your inbox if you apply both a label and then a filter, which we'll talk about in a second. So it's great to have those messages maybe not even come into your inbox, just go straight into a folder, particularly those things that you need to see them, but they generate a lot of messages like listservs and things like that. You want that information. You don't necessarily want it to be clogging your inbox, especially in times like these when we're all working digitally. And this has become really more of a mode of communication than the conversation that we have in the hall or during a meeting. So labels are awesome. What you do is check a box, and you can see my menu expands here. These are labels. So when I hover over them, you can see it pops up. I can create a new label. I'll just call this one test. It creates a new label. It asks me if I want to nest it under some other label. So you could have labels inside of labels. These are not folders. It really is just putting a tag on this message. So right now this one says test. And then when I archive that message, which really just throws that out of my inbox and into my all mailbox. So Google doesn't store them into folders like Outlook did. They are not actually organized at all into a folder. They're in one big bucket, and it's just been labeled with that particular, the label that you create. So this helps tremendously in finding messages, because if I search just this IPDX folder, this is probably a bad example because it's generated 261 messages here. But if I do a search here on this particular label, you can tell I'm doing a label search because it says label : and then gives me the name of that label. And then I want to find out about billing, then I've just narrowed those 261 messages out of the thousands that are in my inbox down to 27. And these are chronological right now. So I can nope, they're not chronological. Yeah, they are. Okay. But they're newest. I've got newest on top and oldest on the bottom. So they just help a lot with narrowing down what you're searching for. So the other way to control what's coming into your inbox is you can apply a filter. So if I go back over here to settings, one of my tabs is filters and blocked addresses. So what these filters help me do is when I create a new one, and a lot of times I would do this from a message and it would throw the address right in here. You can filter based on address. You can filter based on content in the subject line, or really content anywhere in that message. So anything you put into these particular spaces is how the messages are going to, or what Gmail is looking for in terms of content. I'm going to filter messages from Rick. And then and any of these work. So you can say, you can talk about size, and if you're worried about storage, which you shouldn't because it's unlimited here, but maybe attachments. Maybe you don't want to be clicking on any content that might get you into trouble with viruses or spam or any of those. So you can check the box for has an attachment, any of these things. And then when you say create filter, it asks you, what do you want to do with the message with that content or the messages that have attachments? So you just have to check one of these boxes. I especially like being able to control, we're going to send Rick's messages to, I'll create a new label. And then, so now it's going to send any messages from Rick's Northwest Regional email address into this label. And then when I create the folder or the filter, now anything incoming from Rick is going to go straight into the folder over here that's called My Boss. So I won't ever even see it in my inbox. It will just automatically go there. So it's a good way to control what's coming in. You can, you saw my blocked addresses. You can just block an address if you get a message from someone. I don't want to block Renee, let's block Melissa. Then the other option, so you can create a filter for messages like these. The other option is then to just, when you create that filter, oop, that one wasn't from Melissa, it was from a listserv. When I create a filter, I can also just say delete it, and then I never see it. It never even gets archived. It just goes straight to the trash, and in 30 days it goes away. So labels and filters, very convenient for controlling what comes into your inbox. Now let's talk about searching for a minute, because I was asked this question. This search mail, when you put content here or an address here, it searches everything except for your spam and your trash. If you want to search within spam or trash, you have to click on that label, or you have to type in :trash. And then you look for the address or the piece of content that you're looking for. So that's the only way to search things in your trash. If you're not finding something in your inbox, oftentimes I often trash stuff. Just as I'm going through my inbox, sometimes messages, if you thread them, are it's not obvious that there's an additional message there. So I'll often throw them away and then go back looking for them, and I can't find them, and it's because I put them in the trash and my search isn't effective there. So that's one tip. You want to make sure that if you're searching here, you know that it doesn't search drafts spam and trash. And then the other thing that came up this week that I want to reiterate is that your messages probably are grouping right now. So that Gmail does a thing with the conversation view where it takes the subject line, and anything with the same subject line, it groups them together. You can undo that, because I know most of you probably didn't have it set in Outlook, and it could really be causing you some stress. So what you want to do, it's called conversation view in Gmail. I went to settings. I went to the gear here and went to settings. I'm in the general tab. And if you scroll down to, it's probably 3/4 of the way down, maybe half. This is the conversation view. Right now I have it on because I love it. But if it's driving you crazy to have those messages grouped together and you want to see them all separately and be able to manipulate them, delete them, reply to them all separately, then you'll want to turn this off. And then when you save your changes, this is really going to be messy in priority inbox, but we'll see what it looks like. So now these two messages were grouped together, and now I see them as separate messages, even though they have the same subject line. So that may be causing you some stress, and it will probably help you tremendously to have those ungrouped. And then don't forget, search does everything, but it looks everywhere in your mailbox, and your labels included, except for spam and trash. And then also remember priority inbox, which is what you're seeing here. And the way you get to that is to go to settings, and then inbox, third tab over. And then at the very top, you can choose priority inbox, or you've probably got default chosen right now. Please let me know if you have any questions. and or concerns or other things you would like to see in a Fast 15. And happy Friday, everyone.